the start of everything, you just had God in his infinity. So it's represented here, the circle being infinity, and then the black filling the whole space. So all there was God. So in order for God to make room for other creations, he had to remove himself from the room. God was so fat that no matter where you sit in the room, he sits beside everybody. So he had to remove himself in order to allow infinity to exist. So in order to do that, therefore, he removed the infinity from the world. And then you're left with a circle with nothing in it, an empty room. So now there can't be any creation because God has left the room. So therefore he puts back in what's called a kav, and that kav is a line of creation that gives life to everything. In comes the kav, and this is the drawings which you'll find in the books of Chaim Vital. If we have a look at his books, this is Otzros Chaim, which is a book by Chaim Vital. And Chaim Vital was a student of the Arizal, and he would write down what the Arizal was teaching. So this is the beginning of the Otzros Chaim in the Shar HaGilgulim. He says this is a Hakdama that goes from the Ein Sof until you reach the Erampin, which is the Midas of God. So know that the beginning of everything, everything that existed was a simple light. And it was called Ein Sof. There was no end to the light. So this is the infinity. This is the circle of infinity we started off with. Hashem shum chalal v'shum avir panoi. There was nothing that was lacking from Hashem. Ela kol haya Orin Sof. Everything was the Orin Sof. The circle was full. And when it went on the Ratzon, Pashut, that God wanted to create something for the reason that's known, and that reason is to be called a Racham V'chanan and something like that, because there's nothing in the world to receive the Rachamim from God, then how can God be called a Rachamim? So God wanted to make the world. So first thing he had to do, V'az tzimtzam atzmo be'emtzo ha'or shelo b'nakudas ha'merkaz emtzim shabo. So this is God removing himself from the circle. He had the tzimtzum. He restricted himself and he got himself out of the room. So he took down himself from infinity and removed himself and created a place for creation. V'sham tzimtzum atzmo al etzadad, and he put himself to the side. V'tzvivus nishar chalal, and on the rest of it, there was just a chalal in the middle. And zeh is the tzimtzum harishon. This is what we're describing as the tzimtzum harishon, which is where we remove the black from the circle, that tzimtzum harishon. Shalamatzil, which is referring to God, ha'elyon. V'zeh mokam ha'chalal hu igul b'hashava echod. That's that place. It's all the same from all sides. That's why it's a circle. Ad shenimsa olam etzilus, until you create the world of etzilus, and all the worlds are put between in this space there, and the Or Ein Sof surrounds it equally from all sides. So here we have, in a different edition, you'll see, this is a handwritten part of what the Chaim Vital wrote, and you can see the drawing, which is similar to the drawing in which we had. Now here, you can see this is the same text, but there's a ois vav here. Then he mitzamtzemed himself to the sides and around, and nishar chalal. There was just left an empty space in the middle of it. And that's where our letter vav is. Nishar chalal. So here we have, and again, nishar chalal ben time. So here we have an explanation of this note. V'nishar chalal ben time. Kasav Ramaz Moshe Zakot. And he was, the Ramchal married his granddaughter, and he was a student. He went through all the writings of the Arizal and other Kabbalistic writings, and said that the Arizal was the way to go. So he writes here in Ois Vav, Lav Davka Chalal, because it remained there a Reshimu. It remained a Reshimu, that God couldn't completely remove himself from the world, and there was something that still remained behind from his infinity. It remained there. There was a mark left from the initial infinity light. But compared to infinity, for sure there's nothing there, because whatever was left, this Reshimu, this mark that was left, is nothing compared to the infinite light. According to this, we answer what Rizal, that it was called the Halal. It was empty. It it's mashma, there wasn't left any light at all. And it also says in Eitz Chaim, which again is a book by Chaim Vital, which he got from the Arizal. So it says in there, and he removed the light, this great light, from the place completely. So seemingly completely it was removed. But somewhere else, in Malkam Acher, it says that there was a Rishum that was left over. Going back to our picture, this was the picture of Chaim Vital. But now we have to change the picture a bit. The Reshimu was left, when the Halal left, it wasn't wide, it wasn't a complete vacuum, it wasn't completely empty of God. That we were left with remnants of the light. So therefore we say grey, and then the Kav comes in. And then this is our picture. This is our final picture of creation. And that the line coming down is the infinity coming into the world. But the grey area, that's the finity in the world. That's the finite. So you have the roots of infinity coming in through the Kav, and the roots of physicality in the grey area. So if you were looking for revelation of God, revelation of the Ein Sof, you'll only find it in the Kav. But if you want the expression of God without the revelation, so therefore you'll find it in the grey. The Tzimtzum, the restriction only happened in the Kav. It only happened in the line coming in. Because the black had removed itself completely and then came back in, that it's actually not the black line coming in, as it has changed. That the infinity that was there originally, it left, it came back in after going through a change. And at this point, this infinity, since it's surrounded by finity, it's actually affected by the finity and doesn't just turn all the infinity back into infinity. So therefore, the Reshimu that's left there, what is it left from? It's left from the infinite God that was there from the beginning of creation. And since the grey area did not go through a transformation, that is actually a bigger revelation of the true infinite God than the Kav is. Because the Reshimu was not involved in the Tzimtzum, because the Reshimu is not involved with revelation. It's involved about hiding, and it's involved about not revealing God. So since it never left, it's a Reshima of the original infinity. So that it's pure infinity that's just expressed in infinity. It is the ability of infinity to be physical. Because if infinity cannot become physical, so then it's a restriction on the infinity. And therefore, in the physicality, you will find more of the infinite God than you will find in Ruchnius, or you will find in the Kav.